Welcome to SAT Interviews today with Farai Mavuti. Well, today we have the privilege and honor of hosting the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, who is Frederick Shava, all the way from Zimbabwe. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Our show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to England, by the way.
Thank you.
How are you finding your travel so far?
The travel so far has been good. We have met interesting people. Mm-hmm. We continue to meet interesting people, including yourselves.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, we're interested in meeting you, so hence why we're here. So thank you so much for joining us.
You're most welcome.
Now, sir, you have vast experience in the diplomatic community due to your time at the UN. How has that helped you settle into your current office?
The United Nations is a grouping of 193 countries who are trying to promote multilateral understanding in that forum. And because of that, you get to interact with all these countries as the representative of your own country. And that gives you a lot of variety, of diplomatic variety, as you deal with them for different reasons and different topics. So that prepares you very well for any diplomatic onslaught on your own later on, as I am right now.
Are you currently going through a diplomatic onslaught, sir? I'm sure it gets interesting as we go further on. So I suppose one of the first onslaughts you should be challenged with currently in your region is Mozambique. And considering the security challenges in Mozambique, one wonders what the impact is on the country of Zimbabwe itself, and equally how you've been able to deal with that and navigate those challenges.
Well, Mozambique is our very good neighbor, and Mozambique has played a very positive role in the liberation of Zimbabwe, and we continue to have that fraternity as countries. And we are not happy when we see the destabilization of Mozambique coming from the north, Cabo Delgado province, right. Because it destabilizes the fabric of their people, it destabilizes their economy, it destabilizes their partners like us who would like to trade with Mozambique. And we believe that that destabilization by the insurgents from up north is affecting our own trading with Mozambique. It's also affecting our own trading with other partners who send their goods to us via Mozambican ports like Beira and Maputo.
And what has been your policy towards that insurgency as a country? Are you taking any practical actions and steps to ensure that your trade routes are preserved equally?
The reaction to the insurgency in Mozambique with respect to Zimbabwe cannot be a unitary reaction where Zimbabwe alone reacts. It is a reaction which must be associated with the sentiments of the SADC region. So together we have formed a strategic force called SAMIM. And this strategic force offers Mozambique an additional firepower to try and ward off the insurgents from wherever they're coming from. And this is how we are sitting. But in particular, Zimbabwe is supporting this SAMIM by training Mozambican soldiers so that they can participate meaningfully in their own war.
Thank you, Minister, on that. And just as an additional question within the context of the region, but this time from a broader sense, the question would be, what is the state of regional trade, and how has that particular trade impacted growth for Zimbabwe and the region in its totality?
I think there is no doubt that the South African economy is the largest economy in our SADC group, and that we all try and trade with South Africa as much as we can. Zimbabwe itself is trades with South Africa to the tune of 37% of our exports in terms of our exports. Other countries also trade with South Africa and with each other to varying degrees. We sell our goods and services to some SADC countries, and they do the same to us. So that relationship is there. In addition, the SADC countries, most of them are members of COMESA, which is based in Zambia. COMESA stretches from our country, let's say, or Botswana to Egypt. And there is a whole system of trades there, a whole system of preferential tariffs that are being negotiated between our borders, and facilitation of movement of goods and services between within the region of COMESA.
I suppose this leads to my next question, because in as much as there is COMESA, but we have not seen a growth in terms of statistically, in terms of intra-trade in Africa. And then one wonders, why is Zimbabwe so keen, like many other countries, of course, but since I'm speaking directly to the foreign minister from Zimbabwe, the question would be, why are we so keen to join the Commonwealth in light of the reduced trading within our own continent itself?
Oh, the Commonwealth is a club of former colonies of Great Britain, I think, and other countries.
Right.
Originally,
Like Rwanda.
So we are not going to be joining the Commonwealth in order to enhance trade. We are joining the Commonwealth because we want to rejoin, because it's just a grouping of countries that have shared values at some point in the past, and exchanged students in educational programs, and also supported each other in terms of their development and the development of their infrastructures. And whatever we will get from the Commonwealth, if we rejoin the Commonwealth, does not affect the initiatives that we must be doing in Africa. In Africa, we want to grow from COMESA, which I have just mentioned, and to perhaps to link COMESA with ECOWAS in West Africa, and linking those two now with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which is based in Ghana. And we want to think that with time we can develop interlinkages between our countries, and be able to move goods and services freely from the eastern coast to the western coast, to the center of Africa, and up and down the continent of Africa.
Understandable. And I suppose, and this is great, but I suppose the critical question is, with the world divided now towards the notion of the global north and the global south, and the backdrop of Ukraine, the priority of the Commonwealth in contrast to the Africa Free Trade, for example. I suppose the question is a question of priorities. What are the priorities from a foreign policy perspective for the countries? Is it the Commonwealth, or are you walking and chewing gum at the same time?
Well, I'm not so sure that I can articulate the priorities of the Commonwealth at the moment.
I mean, the priorities of Zimbabwe towards
For Zimbabwe, it's a relationship, like I've tried to explain, that we have with our past, and it is only now that you see Francophone countries joining the Commonwealth, or Lusophone countries joining the Commonwealth, like Mozambique and others. But otherwise, apart from those values and potential services that exist between Commonwealth countries, I don't see much else that should make it imperative for us to rejoin the Commonwealth.
Okay, I think that's clear, Minister. Which may lead to the next question I have. I'm not sure if you're aware of this survey, but a new survey by Johannesburg think tank, the Ichokwitz Family Foundation, found this week that a vast majority of African youth see China as an influential foreign player on the continent. My question is, does this not suggest a more strategic imperative, considering that historically Zimbabwe has come from very predominant sort of look east approach, and now with the global sentiments moving towards the global south, what are Zimbabwe's plans to further listen to its own youth, who seem to be suggesting that China seems to be a better player comparatively?
Well, I think it is a question of the attitudes of nationalities. The Chinese come to relationships on a platform called a win-win platform. They don't come into relationships with a domineering attitude on the people that they are going to be interacting with. So maybe the youths are being attracted by this fair play whenever there is either an investment going on, but the investor and themselves, the youths in their countries, see that the Chinese is fair. Excuse
but
me.
What do you say to global north, say Western policymakers that say that the relationship between Africa and China seems to be more colonial or neo-colonial?
Well, I'm sure that they would want their relationship with Africa to be equally neo-colonial. I'm not so sure that there is an element of colonialism between the relationship of China and Africa. And neo-colonialism, even that, I don't see many youths in Africa speaking Chinese, but I see perhaps more youths speaking English, speaking French, attempting to speak English in an American accent. I think that's more neo-colonial than anything else.
No, fair enough, touche. I'm sure if there's any global north policymaker, there's your answer. Now, Minister, leveraging on your experience as the former president of the Economic and Social Council, what are the key issues Africa and Zimbabwe should be looking at in pursuit of the Africa Free Trade Arrangement?
Oh, that's a long time ago, when I was in ECOSOC. But the point is to promote economic trade, Economic and Social Council, economic trade, social interaction between countries of the world. And Zimbabwe was fortunate to lead this element of the United Nations and to promote ECOSOC, as it is called, in all sub-regions. We did go to Africa, hosted a great meeting at the Victoria Falls. We went to Seoul, to Korea, South Korea, hosted equally an interesting meeting there to promote trade. We went to Dakar to again pursue the same objective. And I think it is important for countries to be able to trade with one another in this way. And I think that this is why ECOSOC really has been established, to make sure that apart from the regional trading facilities that we develop in our continents, we are also able to be linked by the United Nations and to have rules and regulations perhaps discussed at the highest level at the United Nations.
So leveraging on that experience, how do you think, in light of having the Africa Free Trade, something that is quite, the continent is excited about, African diasporas are excited about because of the potential of opportunities that can arise. What do you think are the key lessons you can draw from that experience to how best to implement the Africa Free Trade, especially in areas such as Africa has very limited connectivity. So one wonders how practical the implementation of the Africa Free Trade would be, in as much as we have over 38 countries ratifying.
Yes, we have to encourage that there be infrastructure that allows for the movement of goods and services freely. This infrastructure must be developed, and it must be developed by Africans in Africa, so that goods can move from north to south and vice versa, from east to west and vice versa, and in any other direction along this cross. And I think that the issue of tariffs between countries is also a very important issue which must be discussed and which must be allowed to quickly enable the movement of services and goods. Yes, 38 countries have ratified, but we need to do more than just ratification. We need to be able to move the goods from point A to point B in country X. And that's how I think it should go.
Thank you, Minister. And lastly, since you took over office, you stated that you would like the Foreign Office to advance economic diplomacy. I want to know how that journey of economic diplomacy from Zimbabwe's perspective has been going so far.
Well, like I say, economic diplomacy is a very important tool that we must utilize in Zimbabwe rather than just political diplomacy. And in this respect, in Zimbabwe we have the Zim Trade, which is our trading arm, and Zim Trade, within the context of SADC, has held several shows in Mozambique, in DR Congo, and in Malawi, and this year we intend to hold such shows in other places. Recently, during the Commonwealth meetings in Kigali, we had a business to business forum, and where Zim Trade was again showcasing Zimbabwean goods at that particular meeting. We were not participating in the Commonwealth, but we were invited to the business forum. So that's part of economic diplomacy that we are advancing. So we intend to do this continuously, and we intend to ensure that we reach out to countries from far afield to invite them to come and participate also in our international trade fair in Bulawayo every April that we have it. And we were seeing, for example, this last trade fair, the British were back exhibiting at our trade fair after 20 years. And that's good. We want to attract others to also come back.
Well, it's funny you say that, because we have a big American audience, a black American to be more specific, that's interested in investing in Zimbabwe. And one of the things that they always ask is, what are the opportunities? How do we get involved? So I'll pose.
Well, the opportunities are plenty. It depends on their preference. If they want to invest in a particular sector, they should indicate that sector, and they will be assisted to that extent.
Well, Minister, thank you so much for your time. We truly are honored to have you. And to our audience, thank you so much for your continued support. Please continue to tap into The Southern African Times. As you know, it's www.thesouthernafricantimes.com, and you'll be able to watch us as well on Arise News and our other media partners. Thank you yet again for joining us here at the interview with The Southern African Times.